just be looking at buttholes and stuff. And
It could be, but in this scope, you can look at my butthole as I give you photos with mints on it, and then you can make money off of that, which is cool.
you heard it here, folks.
We're minting my butthole. Welcome back, one and all. Thank you for listening. If you're new here, this is the Totally Wholesome, Not Dirty podcast, and I'm your host, Molly Stewart. We define wholesome a little differently here, and my guests span everywhere from the adult industry to the vanilla side of humanity. If you haven't, please consider subscribing. Word of mouth is what helps this podcast grow. So share with a friend, leave a comment, download an episode, or anything you can to help with the algorithm. I release episodes every Monday, and if you're subscribed, you'll never miss an episode. You don't want to miss out on all the crazy conversations that evolve here. That's enough from me, and let's get to today's guest. Yeah, well, you do have a good radio voice. Actually, a lot of people said that on the last episode that we had with you, and we had shitty microphones. So, welcome back to the Totally Wholesome, Not Dirty podcast. I am your host, Molly Stewart, and I have today returning guest, Daniel Trujillo. Did I say it right?
Close enough.
Okay, cool. We're going to roll with it. So, if you guys have not seen Daniel's first episode, you were one of, my first guests, forever ago. Last year. I'm trying to think when that was. I think it was, sometime in late August or September when we shot last time.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, you're kind of the first person that I talked to about things like cryptocurrency and VR and stuff like that. And the past few guests that I've had on, we were discussing before we started rolling, have actually been talking more openly, and not even me bringing it up, just about things like the metaverse and VR and crypto and all that stuff. So I think it seems to me that things have progressed in the cryptoverse. Would you like to discuss this?
Yeah, and I would even just begin with saying, even since we started talking about it before, NFTs were, a really big thing at the time.
Yeah.
However, Facebook had not turned into Meta, and they had not announced, the metaverse thing, which I believe I mentioned in the episode, but it was sort of, a little more nebulous and not, as well-defined and stuff,
sure.
because there's, I got the book Snow Crash and all this other stuff about sci-fi books about VR, and I know I definitely talked about Philip K. Dick.
Oh yeah, we definitely talked about Philip K. Dick.
Yeah, so it's been weird seeing how it went from a term and just set of ideas that some people that were working in the field had a lot, well-defined ideas, but basically everyone was yeah, that's insane. Why the hell would anyone want to do that? And now it's just huge.
And now it's obviously I need a home in the metaverse or whatever.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the metaverse itself? Because I know that you're super into the VR and stuff. Do you have plans to buy anything in that type of landscape? Where do you kind of see that trail going, I suppose?
So, hang on, let me think of where to start with that. So I'm working on a couple projects right now that will be launching pretty soon, in the next couple months, that run in the web. So it's kind of like a video game, crypto voxel-y type thing, except it doesn't look as janky because crypto voxels is cubes and shit.
Oh, okay.
It's a world within the metaverse, which also there's that terminology can just get really wishy-washy really quickly.
It's it's a cool idea, in concept, but then when you look into and start diving into how much goes into it and how many layers there are, it's so overwhelming because it's an entirely new world that you basically have to then relearn as an adult, which I guess for us, kids are probably oh, this is so cool and I understand all of this, but for me, I'm just oh, it's so overwhelming.
Yeah, so there's I guess I'll explain that the main concept behind the idea first, and then get into actually answering your question about
for sure
planning on buying stuff, because I already own NFTs and stuff. But so the basic idea, when I don't even like saying the word metaverse anymore because it's just so common.
So when
insane.
Facebook,
yeah. So the basic idea, there's two major premises to it. It's essentially the next iteration of the internet. And when everyone's like, oh, Roblox is a metaverse and Fortnite is a metaverse, like, that is not, like, by the actual definition that has been in place for like 30 years since the book Snow Crash came out, that is not actually correct. You're just playing an online, like, virtual thing.
An
like,
online virtual world, yeah.
Yeah. So the idea is that, like, you'll have, like, interconnected, interoperable worlds that also, the NFT stuff is secondary, but, like, interoperable virtual worlds that you can, like, move in and out of just like you would navigate websites and stuff like that, except it's all 3D. And for some reason, people want to do, like, e-commerce and stuff there, which seems silly. It's like
No, would that be
building a physical virtual world.
So something like that might... Okay, so here's where I can think of something that might be interesting. So for me, for instance, being tall but also kind of small is like when I buy clothes online, unless I've bought it from there before, wouldn't necessarily know. Now, if I had like a replica digital representation of myself and my measurements and what my body looked like, technically then could I like go into that metaverse store, try on things, buy them from there and have it like sent to me because I'm like, well, now I know it fits because I tried it on or something like that.
Yeah, and that's definitely like a possibility. And there's things that already sort of exist in that regard, but they're more so like in the augmented reality side of it, which I was about to get to.
Okay, sorry. I was just jumping around.
No, and then we can expand on that
Yeah,
idea
for sure.
because right now all the avatars in most things, it's just like really goofy, low poly, looks like some video game stuff, like from Lawnmower Man or something. And so one of the projects I'm working on, it revolves around us making a couple of these interoperable worlds, like that you'll access through a website. You can access them through like with an Oculus or a Meta Quest now, and or with any like AR headsets like a HoloLens or a Magic Leap and stuff like that. And the avatars that we're making are a lot more high res and less cartoony looking. However, they're not like one-to-one representation.
No, of course, it's like limitations. I just kind of was looking at the expansion of where it could go, I guess. And I was thinking, I should just focus on what we're talking about right now.
And they're, hey, I mean, that's the point of this. We just roll,
this is my ADD
through.
brain. I'm like, everywhere.
So then, like the one-to-one representations, like, because I think last time we talked about volumetric capture and photogrammetry and all that stuff. That stuff's mostly here, but not quite there, like the way we would want it to be. But once you get into like the realm of augmented reality and stuff like that, you can like scan your body and like using the LiDAR on your phone and stuff, it like takes measurements and all that. So then you can have like virtual try-on stuff. Although you wouldn't at this point where technology is right now, you wouldn't be like a virtual avatar of yourself.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
like you could
kind of like
through
know based on-
Snapchat, you know, you could like do try-ons in there and
Yeah,
stuff.
for sure. Well, I think that's cool. Like even just like, well, it's like, oh, it's not there yet. But the fun thing is that it's progressing so quickly, even since like we last spoke. I feel like this whole cryptocurrency, online virtual world type stuff has grown in even just in like being something that's talked about in like a household name type thing more so than it was before. And when you look at how fast technology has progressed, even since we were kids, it's like you're ish to my age, but it's like dial up. And so and I know that I've made that comparison before, but when you can have that much progression over like a 30-year time, and the progressions come quicker and quicker as time progresses and as technology progresses, I think there's like something really cool potentially to be made from all of this, but it's kind of hard to see while it's still in the planning stages for a lot of people, I feel like. And while you maybe say something, I just realized I didn't plug in this camera and it will die.
Uh-oh.
Keep going.
But yeah, so and that's things like the technology to make this stuff already exists. It's just no one has done it in the form that we just described. And there's like a lot of experimental. It's still going. A lot of experimental stuff that is like just around the corner. So I'm sure by next time we have this conversation, it'll be here or something.
Yeah, for sure.
So, trailing back to, do I plan on buying any stuff or like virtual real estate? One, no, because I'm making it.
Yeah.
So,
Just make your own.
maybe one day
Just build your own virtual house.
yeah, maybe one day I will if the prospect is tempting enough. But
Yeah.
and then another project that is supposed to be releasing, I think, May 4th, and that
May the 4th be with you.
That's exactly why, because it's a thing called Crypto Sabers. Although we have no affiliation with Star Wars,
Don't come after me, Josh Lucas.
so it's basically like a bunch of 3D generated lightsaber or crypto sabers that your avatar that will run in one of these virtual worlds based on either the XR Foundation XR engine or it's a Webiverse. So they're both like browser based things, so you can do it on your phone, your computer, or whatever. But then you have like a lightsaber that can generate music, and then if you meet someone else with another one that's like rare enough and stuff, you can generate new music.
Oh, that's cool.
And there's a whole bunch of crazy like AI stuff being built into the engine right now that like so like most NPCs and stories like, in like video games, it's like a pre-written story, and like you can just sort of navigate like a choose your own adventure. These worlds that we're building, they have like NPCs that are constantly running in the background that are based on AI using GPT-3 and GPT-J, which are like gigantic language models, and you can like fine tune it to generate Philip K. Dick books or poetry or whatever. So you can
the NPCs become a lot less limited.
Yeah, and then the story builds itself in the background, whether or not there's people interacting with them.
So like based on any different person could have a totally different experience, basically, because the AI kind of is building on different things, different parameters for different people, essentially. Or
Not based on people, but more so like they can even interact with each other. So like the story just gets built through like generative means. So
that's cool. Cool.
It's like a self-writing
like a
story.
never-ending. What are those? Is it the Goosebumps? Is that the ones you
yeah.
could choose your own? Like a never-ending. Like that's cool. I remember reading those all the time when I was a kid. Oh man, it's the scope of all of this online stuff is so insane to me, and it's funny because like a majority of my career has obviously been spent on the internet, and that's why it's funny to even, and I don't even know necessarily funny, but so interesting to see it now, just how much has progressed and how many more people, not even in the industry that I am, are basically looking to things like crypto or looking to more online space, I guess, to sell whatever it is that they're selling, whether it's like a service. I mean, you can go hire freelance people, off of Fiverr. Like I've done that for this podcast, like this little screen right here, Fiverr, like, and it's so interesting. It's cool to see that people are, I guess, able to kind of like take some of the creativity more into their own hands and try to find work and, create income for themselves outside of just the scope of working for someone. And I think something that's cool about the online digital space and things like Meta and why those things probably will and have gained popularity is, I mean, you're also coming off of the 2-year pandemic where it's like everyone was stuck at home. And I think, just based on the amount of people that there are in the world and how unprepared we were for a pandemic of this magnitude, which was only like a 1% death rate. And then you look at something and you look at all the different information that's available for like the the code sequencing for things like diseases or pandemics, like what is it, the H1N1, how it was like a 60% mortality rate. And if that was manipulated in ways that it was, like I was talking to my man actually about how they were testing it on ferrets and stuff like that. And so they ended up making it more transmissible, more deadly. And it's like, what if that had gotten out? And you're looking at a 60% mortality rate that's transmissible as much as COVID was. And with just the sheer amount of people that are everywhere, it's like something like that is likely to happen again and potentially even in our lifetime, I think.
And the fact that even like people just wouldn't take it seriously, and
yeah,
like,
and, but that's the
like,
thing.
no.
It's like,
well, only
maybe if you
60%
just told
of
them
us
it
are
was
dying.
60%, stay the fuck home. But yeah, I mean, and that's one of the things too, is like you can't, it's what it comes down to is you can't control anyone else. You can only control yourself. And so kind of, I think it's one of those things when you're stuck at home and it's becoming more and more attractive to stay at home and to create a space that you don't have to venture out as much as you used to. And it's like when you do venture out, it can be for things that are more rewarding and, like hiking or something like that, just like seeing the world. But you can order groceries from home. You can do anything off of Amazon, except for me because I don't have Amazon. But, for a majority of stuff, you don't need to leave your home. And, I think that people kind of want that ability to just create a space that they feel comfortable regardless, because it's like, well, yeah, I can go out, but I don't need to. And it's kind of that nice little fallback to have if you had a situation like this happen again, which we probably will.
Yeah, or it's just going to be a never-ending situation that we'll just eventually get sick of. Like this, we're like, whatever, just let me die.
Just let me die. Just let me die.
Yeah, but then and then the whole meta thing ties in. The way they can be tied back to that is like, if you want to venture out, or proverbially venture out and want to hang out with your friend in Australia and your other friend in New York or whatever, then you can still do that and have dance parties in the virtual world.
Yeah, and create a storyline with your lightsabers and stuff.
Yeah.
Not trademarked. No, that's really cool. So as far as NFTs, I know that you helped create one for an artist who did a painting of me. I kind of lost touch with that. I don't even know how it started going. But now that I've had a lot of other people coming up and bringing up things like NFTs, how do you feel about them? Especially because what about something for instance, the ugly fucking monkey things? What makes those so fucking valuable? I can't see spending the money you'd spend on a fucking house to buy the ugliest looking thing I've ever seen.
It's a great description of them. Perceived value is all it is. For most people, it's wanting to be part of a club, which club is even in the name. I don't know.
The Bored Apes Club or something like
Bored
that?
Ape Yacht Club. Yeah. I was like, wait, can we say that? Yeah, we can talk about
whatever
we
can talk
want.
about whatever we want. We're not saying we own it. We're not telling you to buy it. Don't buy it. Actually, I would recommend against it. Cause,
not financial advice.
not financial advisors. Porn. I do that and this.
Yeah. And so there's perceived value just because you want to be part of the club. The proverbial club of owning something rare. And then there's you can get into I don't know, concerts or some other stuff because if you can prove that you own this thing, you can have access to VIP lounge at Spearmint Rhino or something. I don't know.
Better quality strippers for you, I guess, if you get the right NFTs.
Yeah. And that one, I don't think there's any connection between the two things. I was just making it up.
No, I know. But can you imagine that? We're gonna bring out our top tier strippers for you, sir, because you are part of this ugly monkey club.
Yeah. So there's the twofold thing, which everyone refers to that as utility of the NFT. So it's there's some other added value to it. Mm-hmm. And then there's also the utility, the actual utility in terms of it being able to be used in the the so-called metaverse or the Nexus or whatever, because there's a whole bunch of feuding fight over what it should be called at this point, because the name was co-opted by Facebook, so everyone's just nope, don't.
Yeah, don't do it.
We're not saying that anymore. So.
Oh man, I don't know. I was talking with Kira Noir about NFTs a bit, and I was like, it's one of those things. What could I provide, or what could I bring to the table that's non-fungible? This is something that's a one-off. And I was thinking, and tell me your thoughts on this, just creating a series of minted butthole pictures, different mints. You can get a breath mint just on the butthole, a sprig of mint coming out a little bit, just all the different freshly minted buttholes, and it's just a butthole collection.
That is even when you just said the minted butthole thing, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And
you want to help me make some minted buttholes?
Actual mints. And now we're now we're talking.
That's fun, right? You got to help me get on that. I'm telling you.
And say with the NFT that we had worked on, we didn't quite know what we were doing when we started, other than like how to make something into an NFT. So I feel like
Yeah.
second time
And
around
I
we
feel
could
like
do
when we
substantially
started it
better.
as well, there wasn't as much talk about it. And there wasn't, and I feel like most of the talk that was had about NFTs was more on a negative point, not like a, oh, this is something that's interesting. It's like, well, this is fucking stupid, you know?
Yeah.
But so I think that now that there's a lot more information coming out, and hopefully people are doing, you know, more of their own research in that regard, then they're like, oh, well, here's something that I can maybe find some potential in, or I can at least watch it to see how this type of stuff progresses. But definitely, I think when we started it, it wasn't that big of a thing, and everyone's like, it
Yeah.
was fucking stupid.
Plus, it was like we minted on it. So when you have auctions on OpenSea in particular, you have to mint on Ethereum when you're auctioning something off. Otherwise, you can just sell it or accept offers. And we had done Ethereum, and then it turned out like the gas fees, or like
Yeah, they were
the gas fees were higher than the amount of money that we were going to get from
exactly.
it. So it was like, so we're going to have to pay to
So we
sell
gotta start
this.
figuring out a different way to do it.
Yeah, but no, there's ways around it. It was just
Yeah. But
didn't
it's like
know
the
until
new
it was
starting
you know.
stages. We're like, oh, maybe you'll try a thing. But it's all that kind of thing is like, you know, trial and error, just kind of like with anything. And even now it's like I'll get people ask, like my brother, for instance. I'm like, dude, stop asking me for crypto advice. Here's the videos I want you watch that because I don't want to tell you what to fucking do with anything. But yeah, it'll be interesting to kind of see where it all goes because as much as I know about it, it's nothing compared to like how much available information is out there. Because I'll start to, you know, you take a week off from trying to, you know, stay abreast of what's going on, and then you have this backlog of it's like, oh, here's all this shit that happened in a week. Like there's so much to even get through on that end that it can be so overwhelming.
Yeah, it definitely is just like rapidly evolving and like
I feel
same-
like that old person that's like, what's an app? You know how much I love a clean shave, but now that you've shaved your sack, what's next? Well, get excited because Manscaped has launched a new all-in-one skin and hair care kit designed to cover you from head to toe. Skincare isn't just for women. You can upgrade more than just your shave, and that dwindling bar of soap isn't doing you any favors. Treat yourself to an enhanced grooming experience with Manscaped's new Ultra Premium Collection. Your balls thanked you for the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant, and now your armpits will thank you too with Manscaped's new Premium Underarm Deodorant. The Ultra Premium Collection also includes a hydrating body moisturizer to keep your skin smooth and fresh. Use it after you lather up in the shower with Manscaped's new aloe vera and sea salt infused body wash and their 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. With your skin and hair hydrated, Manscaped threw in a free gift to keep your lips soft and kissable. A 3-pack set of lip balm made with ingredients like vitamin E, peppermint, and eucalyptus oil. That's 4 products and a free gift inside the Ultra Premium Collection. All products are cruelty-free, paraben-free, dye-free, and vegan-friendly. The best ingredients and zero compromise. See why 4 million men worldwide trust Manscaped to treat their balls the best, and now you can trust them with the rest. Get 20% off and free shipping when you enter my code TWND at checkout at manscaped.com. And we thank Manscaped for sponsoring this podcast. I don't. It's so hard.
yeah, there's even like the AI art stuff that I've been doing. It's like every day or week it's just like I have to relearn. Granted, you know, you have the foundation of like
The base knowledge.
like base knowledge, but like it's just constantly changing, and like thankfully the crypto world doesn't quite work that fast. Like it works very rapidly, but like they got to be a little bit safer about their development because, you know, people's money and lives are at stake
for
in this
sure.
case.
No, and it's funny. I think that's one of the things is it is super overwhelming for a lot of people because it's not the norm and it is something that's new. Even if you look back at 2017, that's new, like even that time, and it's been around since a lot longer than that. However, it's like now is a point in time where I feel like, well, we have a crypto.com stadium in Los Angeles, like, which was crazy when I was like, what? And now you're starting to see it talked about everywhere. I was just watching the UFC fights, and they, you know, had their crypto thing and they had their little crypto ad reads and stuff like that. I was like, damn. So, but now you're looking at how fast all that stuff is progressing. And when it's already new and being talked about, it's like, oh, here's this new thing. And then that new thing is constantly changing. everybody who is outside the know or is just hearing about it now is probably like, well, this is so much to keep up with and it's too crazy, it's too volatile. But, when you look back at like the standards of investing in the past, and even still currently things like the stock market, it's like that's volatile too. And most people don't understand that. That's why they pay someone to kind of like make their allocations for them. I mean, I do that because I don't know what I'm doing. But with crypto, you kind of need to figure it out for yourself. You can't just like trust your money to somebody else to make you crypto investments. I've heard so many horror stories about people doing that and be like, oh, I can take, your 20 grand and turn it into 100 grand. And they're like, oh, take my money. And then it's gone. And it's gone.
Yeah. It's not funny, but it's funny like how many like scam ads and DMs and stuff I get like that, where they're like, you can turn this 15,000 into 100 or whatever, and I'm like, well, my friend definitely got their shit hacked, so I'm just don't click on the thing.
Yeah, you guys, it got to be so careful. I actually had one of those the other day, and I'm so glad that I'm not like old enough or too old to be like, oh, we'll just click on this. But look at where the email is being sent from. I beg of you, because this one, it looked like a crypto.com email. Like it had the branding, it had all the things. And you look at the email itself, they're like, oh, we need you to, confirm your 2-factor, whatever. Just log in here. You look at the email and it's like from some weird string of numbers, like domain that's nothing to do with crypto.com. And you can just imagine the amount of people who are like, oh, I just need to fix this right here. And it's like, just look where it's coming from, please. You're going to lose your money.
Yeah. And also don't click on weird links you get in your Instagram DMs.
Yeah, no one on Instagram is going to help you make money, just like they can't get you verified either. So just,
yeah.
I always love that you get the little messages, oh, let me get you verified. And it's like, you have 500 followers and you're not even verified. Like, what are you going to do for me?
Or 12 followers.
Or 12 followers. Or you get the ones I've clicked on them a few times just because I'm like, who is this person, right? And they're verified. They have like 100, maybe 200,000 followers. And you're like, oh, it's interesting. And you're like, oh, you must have bought this account from someone because you have no interaction on your posts. This is all like, and then people like me, for instance, or even say you, it's like, you can't get verified. I can't get verified. But then these random scam accounts are verified. And you're like, people are sending these people money thinking that they can like get their little blue check mark or whatever it is that they're trying to get out of you.
Yeah. I mean, I tried once and it's like, one, I don't give a shit really. But like one of my friends that only has like 60,000 followers could. So yeah, I mean, maybe then I can look more official or something. But nah. Didn't meet their like, whatever the requirements were.
You don't exist. Fuck you. And it's funny because it seems like the ability to verify should be fairly simple and straightforward. You're uploading an ID to prove that you are this or that. You have to provide all these links to like references of who you are essentially. And then at the end of the day, they can still be like, nah, it's not you. It's like, well, okay, but then you're still letting all these like fake accounts exist. You're still letting all of these, like you can go look up my name on Instagram and you'll maybe have 20 catfishes come up before you'll have my actual account come up, which has like over 500,000 followers and they have like 20.
Can confirm.
Like, what? I'll have people sometimes try to tag me and stuff and they get like the suggestion, which looks almost like my username, so they'll tag me and it's
with
not
like an underscore or something,
or like an extra W or whatever it is, like, and you just don't notice because they use the same photos, and it's like, so how can you let that kind of stuff to run rampant on a platform when you're apparently trying to protect people, right? Which is why they say that they do the things that they do, but it's not protecting people if you're not verifying the correct people and then letting scammers basically run rampant on your site.
Yeah,
I don't know. That could be something that's interesting, with things like the digital landscape of all this metaverse or whatever it is that you want to call it, because I think that there's a potential then to also translate that to other platforms or for new platforms to exist, different and new social media platforms that maybe, since everything is tied to who you are, is a lot more easy to verify the validity of someone saying who it is that they are, potentially.
Potentially, yeah.
Potentially.
Because then, there's like at least the blockchain provability of who you are with the history connected to it and stuff.
And that's what I'm saying. Even not necessarily like, oh, this is Molly Stewart or, my real name or whatever. But even just like the tangibility, I think, is interesting with the blockchain and with all of the different transaction codes and things like that, that's all you can regard all of that based on where you're sending your money. Have all these different people verifying it, and it seems a lot more secure to me than a lot of other things going on in the internet.
Yeah, potentially, for sure.
Potentially. And it's one of those things that, like, still it's so new and still so many things are being done. And obviously there's going to be new regulations. There will be new rules and different ways of doing things. But I think that's one of the interesting things with the volatility is that I think it is so volatile because there are so many people trying to make this be something that does move forward and becomes a thing. So there's going to be a lot of changes while, people essentially figure out what they have to do to make something like this, tangible and available to everyone in a way that people feel secure using. So I think that it's probably just a really long transition period of kind of trying to set that up and make people feel comfortable with it.
Yeah, and then there's definitely that, and then also like right now we have like I don't even know how many tens of thousands of different coins and stuff in existence because there's
so many
meme coins and shit coins and like the long lasting ones like Bitcoin and Ethereum and stuff, and then so it's like there's so many options out there and almost everyone's just trying to like get rich quick.
Yeah, you can't get getting rich quick is what it's it's always has been seen as like a scheme thing. You go, that's old Uncle Gary. He's always trying to get rich quick. He's got all these harebrained ideas, but it's one of the true things is that I feel like to kind of create and then also establish and keep wealth, you need to do a lot of your own. I hate saying this, do your own research. It's the most stupid thing because like for anything that you're trying to research online, you can find something to fit whatever type of narrative it is that you're looking for. If you're looking for someone to tell you that the sky is in fact green and not blue, you can find it because it's the fucking internet. There's so much information available to anyone. And it's like, I feel like a lot of people are like, where do you even begin? That was me when I first started. It's like, where do I even begin to find information that's, potentially accurate or will help me understand this? And there's just so much support there. And most people don't even have the time. Luckily, I make porn, so I have time. I don't even have as much time as I wish I did for it.
See, I get all my information from porn, so.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Perfect.
I'm just doing research.
Speaking of porn, we talk about that here sometimes. Are you still working like production side of stuff, or are you kind of like out of?
No,
because we haven't like talked in so long. We haven't talked since Friendsgiving. I think.
Yeah. No, I still occasionally get contacted about a prop needing to get made because they need like someone to 3D print something or random
or minting their buttholes.
Yeah, random things here and there, but no, it's beyond my job now. It's, now I just do the NFT, XR related stuff.
Yeah. Have you kind of liked that transition away from kind of just doing like the set stuff, or do you kind of miss it in some ways, or is it nice to kind of like find your groove in something that you're more actually like passionate about and stuff like that?
Short answer, I definitely liked that other job more. It was just way more fun, and it was different every single day, and it was just like everyone was working as a team to get something done. Like you were basically making a full-length movie every single day.
Yeah.
So no day was ever the same as the other, and sometimes, like, granted, yes, it's a great job. Not at all talking shit, especially if my bosses are listening.
Don't listen.
Don't listen to this. But no, it's
cut this out, David. Just kidding.
It's just like sometimes super boring, and I have to like wait for other people to get stuff done, and sometimes it's like days or weeks and stuff of just like hurry up and wait. And then there's like, it's a publicly traded company, so there's so many like approvals that need to happen and stuff like that. So it's just like it's a completely different kind of beast. Yeah. Although I have insurance, so that's great.
That's nice.
Don't have to deal with all that. And no, there's definitely some like really good stuff. Like I'm working on like cutting edge technology and shit. But
yeah, for sure.
Granted, I could just be looking at buttholes and stuff. And
it could be, but in this scope, you can look at my butthole as I give you photos with mints on it, and then you can make money off of that, which is cool.
You heard it here, folks.
We're minting my butthole. I think that's actually, I don't know. I think that that's one of the cool things too, is that you can, even if something like this never happened, for instance, even just the talking process of, I'm going to go mint my butthole. Like, I think that there's so much fun to be had with, the whole crypto, with the whole online universe. And that's where I've lived. That's where I've grown up, is the internet. And even though I don't understand it all, I think it's like this new exciting landscape to kind of traverse and figure out. And it makes me feel like I at least want to learn something new, because it is so new and it's so interesting. I wish that more people could kind of approach it with an open mind, and as I said, do some of the research and kind of like start figuring out, don't just say that you don't like crypto or you think it's stupid because that's what, banks or the media or something like that tell you, because it's like they don't even fully understand it. And yet they're also buying crypto. They're also making those investments while telling you that it's not good for you. So it's like,
And at the same time, you have the iconic Staples Center turning into Crypto.com thing, and like some other ones I don't remember but it's like, it's obviously a big industry that is here to stay at least for a while, and so dismissing it as stupid is possibly stupid. Might have to dismiss that concept as stupid. Yeah. Also, not financial advice.
Not financial advice, but it's one of those things that it's like, if it's here and it has become as prominent as it has, I think everyone owes it to themselves to kind of not just shut your eyes to it, because it's like potentially then you could be missing out. I'm not saying like, oh, go sell your house and buy an NFT, because that's fucking retarded. Don't do that. But it's kind of one of the things that it's like, well, if you close yourself off to it completely, or just like, for instance, people who maybe don't invest in like a 401k, or like, they're like, oh, I don't want to stock market volatile. It's like, well, everything changes and everything goes in different waves. And if you don't have your foot in the door a little bit here and there, you have the potential to basically miss out on a lot in the future, I think.
Yeah, I don't know what isn't volatile. It's like,
yeah,
life and relationships,
life is volatile,
and
man.
fucking gold and the US dollar, maybe like tungsten or something. Invest in tungsten.
Not financial advice.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the price of tungsten. I'm just joking.
No, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where I see it all going, or kind of, I don't know, like, but even as far as like having something like a crypto.com card that, you fund with USD funds, and then you end up using it and you just earn minute amounts of like CRO, like crypto, as you go. And even that kind of thing is, fascinating. And when you look at it, it's kind of not much different. I mean, different in a bit, but think about when you use like a credit card or something and you rack up enough points and you get money back. You can either use it to pay off part of your statement, or you can just take cash out, basically. And it's like, it's similar to that in some ways. And I think it's just a totally different way of doing it. And I think that I don't know, I find it very interesting.
Yeah, and the only difference I see is the fact that it's like not based on a bank like, doing stuff that I can't even explain. I'm not going to try to. I have an NFT monkey brain. But it's like, at least in this case, you can see who, or at least the number of who's doing what with your money, instead of it just being like credit and the bank does it and they just do the magic and it comes back out as money kind of thing.
Yeah, you can like know exactly kind of where it's all going and where it's all held, and you're the only person that can basically touch it then. It's like, I think I made this correlation as well. Well, it's like kind of all money in a way is kind of a bit intangible. It's like, how often do you use cash? You're basically using a card that takes digital money and transfers digital money to someone else. At the end of the day, what's the difference? Because you want to go pull 10 or 20 grand out of your bank, they're going to make you fill out all these forms. They might not even have it. They probably don't have it available to just fucking give you. And this is coming from someone also who has closed a Chase account before and wanted to pull out all of my money. They were not very happy about it, and it took time. But it's something that, it's like everything is kind of digital in one way or another. It's like the amount of people that shop on Amazon. You're not paying for your Amazon stuff with cash. You're paying with it with digital currency in one way or another. It's not cryptocurrency, but it is digital, and it's not really something tangible as well. So, I mean, there are overlaps, there's differences as well, but I think, it's I don't really find it to be that much different than using something that's like, oh, here's this digital money that I see represented online in a bank account, and then I use my card and it comes out. Like, I don't really find there to be much of a much of a difference as far as that goes. But I think with using things like crypto and blockchains, I think that that is actually a lot more of a secure way to kind of use digital money as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a whole lot of intricacies that we could maybe get into, but yeah, I don't know about that. But yeah, it's like the only upside I would say that I can see to using, what they refer to as fiat money now, would be like, say, if someone steals your bank card and steals all your money, you can get it back from the bank. Whereas if you accidentally fall for some kind of scam and send someone all your crypto, you're just good luck.
That's true as well. And I think something that's cool about that, it is nice to have, the money insured and stuff like that. I know there was that thing that happened with crypto.com that they had that hack. And if I'm not mistaken, they did reissue funds to people and they ate it as well. Did they not? Or
I
did
have no idea.
Oh,
you're probably right. I just don't know.
I'm not a financial advisor and I don't know what I'm talking about. But if you want to look it up, just look it up. Maybe you'll know better than I do. But but I'm sorry.
Continue. Oh, I was just gonna say, especially with like them getting hacked, like it should definitely be on them.
Yeah.
If you fall for some stupid scam, which has happened to me once.
Yeah.
I fell for a very stupid trick and realized it right when it happened, and had, sent money to probably Russia, I'm guessing. And it
God damn it, Daniel, with everything going on right now.
This was like a year and a half ago. But yeah, no. Definitely not sending them money now.
It was not intentional the first time. He was bamboozled. No.
But then, like, for like reference, I have a friend that was back in, it was like early 2000s. I don't remember the year, maybe like 2010 or something, when the whole like Mount Gox thing happened, which was like a Bitcoin storing website type place thingy. They got hacked and all of it got stolen. And I have a friend that lost like what amounted to several $100,000 at that point, and it just like they just ruined a bunch of people's lives by having their shit insecure, and there was nothing that could be done about it. It was like people lost millions of dollars, and it was just like, well.
And it's one of those things that I feel awful when things like that happen, but then I also look and I compare it to things like, for instance, I don't, maybe not a good correlation to make, but I look at people like who get catfished, and I have just the reference of people who have told me how much money that they have sent to people that they think that is me, and it's not me, and I'm like, damn, I could have used that. But I'm like, but they're not getting that money back, because it's like, I mean, that's gone, and it's gone. and I think that it kind of, and it behooves everyone to, did I just say behooves? Anyway, it behooves everyone, that's probably not even a word, to basically, vet where you're sending your money and really look into, the platforms that you're storing your money and all of that kind of stuff, because is it that whole, the fool and his money are easily parted. And it comes down to, that whole wanting to get rich quick, or wanting to be married to me, and it only cost you $40,000 apparently. like it's, think a little bit. I said it was Shelby, and I say all the time, think a bit before you do a lot. Like, you owe it to yourself, and you owe it to your retirement and your money and your house and all of your assets to just be very careful with where you're sending your money anywhere online, whether it's crypto or whether it's PayPal or any of that stuff. That everybody is learning more and more about the digital landscape, whether it is cryptocurrency or the internet or any of this stuff. And, you can look and hope that a majority of people are just kind-hearted, genuine people, but there's a lot of us in this world, and a lot of them suck. And a lot of them are just in that same mentality of, how can I get rich quick off of your money, Yeah,
and plus a lot of people there's a lot of, not blaming poor people for stealing stuff. There's a lot of poor people in this in this world, and online is a very easy way for them not to go like actually physically rob someone and stuff like that. And it's you just find some gullible idiot like me or a guy that wants to get married to you for $40,000 or something.
Such a bargain.
It's just
Fuck,
like
I'm cheap, man. Fuck.
plus then you have access. Well, this is definitely not financial or legal advice.
This is
do
no advice.
not do this.
This is just
not
us talking and you're fucking listening. So shut up and listen. Don't take any time. This is advice.
So it's like you go from like physical crime to like digital stuff where it's like they just have access to the entire world at that point. So it's like you just throw darts and eventually you're gonna.
You watched the Tinder Swindler? The Tinder? The Tinder Swindler? The Tinder Swindler? The Tinder Swindler. Have you watched
I
it?
have not.
You
I've heard
should.
stuff about it.
Oh man, you want to talk about some scams? Some fun stuff right there. If you haven't watched it, no spoilers. I highly recommend you check it out on Netflix. They don't sponsor us, but it's a good show or docu-series thing. It's very interesting. But basically, this guy scammed a bunch of women, which is kind of the converse because you typically hear about the alternate where, obviously that's what I hear about all the time is a guy using my photos to scam other men. But then you have a guy who's, is a bit charismatic and he uses money basically from other women that he's scammed to continue scamming other women. It's this whole cycle of craziness. And you look at something like that, that's basically just done through WhatsApp and the internet and a few meetings here and there. And it's like, before you know it, these women are handing over hundreds of thousands of dollars and pretty much nothing happened to him for the most part. He's banned from dating apps, I think. Make a new account, use somebody else's photos, and you're good to go. It's crazy. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't think that I'm trying to think if I've ever fallen prey to a scam, but I don't think so. I don't know, but I've also kind of been in a position for a long period of time, especially during my earning years of making money, where I wasn't really, because I wanted to buy crypto actually back, years ago, and it was kind of like, oh, I don't think we should. I also didn't have, and this is why I talk about things like the stock market and 401ks. I didn't have a retirement account until 2 years ago, basically during my divorce, because my ex was all, oh, the stock market's too volatile, all the money's gonna go away. I'm like, but where's all our money? He's like, I spent it.
And it went away. Yeah.
And it went away. It was perfect. It's but wasn't really in a place where maybe even if I could have potentially been scammed, I wasn't gonna spend money to do it because you had to go run it by someone else who's even crazier about money than I am in a way. But I know that a lot of people are in that position. I know people in my family as well who they want the success and they want the wealth and they want the money now. And with the unfortunate thing about, I feel like money and wealth, and even as far as just keeping it, it could be easy, something to get quickly, especially if you're someone like a scammer. But I feel like that mindset of basically, wanting all the money, it boils down to greed. And I think that greed is kind of an emotion that manipulates your decision-making process in a very negative way. And it kind of, and you have maybe one bit where you do make good money on it. It's like gambling. You get that, oh, I'm not making anything. And then as soon as you get that win, you're like, I can do more. I can do more. I can get more. And you end up losing it all. You got to be very pragmatic with decisions like that are going to affect the rest of your life. And all the money or earnings or whatever wealth it is that you have to protect it. And I think that that's, very difficult to do. And then especially you have something like a pandemic where people are out of work, they're not making as much money, maybe they're making no money, and people get desperate and they want to look to somebody else to basically be like, here's how you can get it all back in times 10, because that's the easy way. But at the end of the day, nothing worth doing is easy, I don't think. And that's why even with things like crypto, it's not easy to invest in it properly and to have it be something that could be long-term wealth for you, because you're not looking at the long term. Even a lot of people that I talk to now are looking at the short term of how much they can make off of crypto. And they're like, well, what do you do? And what do you buy? I'm like, I haven't sold any of my crypto. I've bought when it dips and I hold it. That's all I do, because I look at it as something that's like, well, I don't need, I don't, everybody needs money now, but you only invest what you can part with. And then you look at that as something, way down the road that you're like, I want to go on a vacation, or pull it out, or I want, to make all these payments on my house. You put it out that way. But I feel like, and none of the get rich quick schemes ever work because they're schemes. Like, there's not a way to just instantly have money unless, I don't know, you're the Tindler swindler. I keep saying Tindler. I cannot say just Tinder swindler. Tindler. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not even going to try to say that. So.
Tindler.
I think I've just heard it so many times that
You're
now
just
it's going to come out that
Tindler. All right, so check out the Tindler Swindler on Netflix. Oh my god. So as far as projects coming up with working with things like what are you excited for besides maybe just like the lightsaber stuff? Like what kind of stuff do you work with typically on a daily basis, kind of doing the work that you do that I don't know, maybe you're excited about or you want to let people know about who may not have the knowledge?
I mean, I sort of explained like the couple major projects without getting into too many details because a lot of it's still like, under wraps. The Crypto Sabers thing is already announced, so it's okay for me to talk about that. I'm working on another project that's not work related. It's like just side project with it's like since we last spoke, I became like part of a group on Twitter that's like based around AI artwork and stuff.
Okay.
And there's two main people that are like the co-hosts of it, and one of them is this guy Jeremy who did like the visual effects for Primitiva, the movie I made back in like 2017. And he's the one who got me into like AI artwork and stuff. And then the other guy, Kevin Page, he he like plays a dude in RoboCop, gets killed by fucking Ed 209 and stuff, which is perfect that I just ended up running into that guy of all people. And he works and does AI artwork. So we're working on a project that is like showcasing a bunch of AI artists and making like a film, and also like putting together like an AI film festival. Okay. So it's like things that are all just made.
So, because I'm not sure, what kind of like is AI artwork? Because I've seen you post some things that's like the moving like representations and stuff. So how does that kind of like work with AI? Like you just kind of set parameters and it creates something, or?
Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of different ways that this stuff can work. So I'll try to just give like the baseline, like high level explanation, because each like neural network that could be used goes into like extreme layers of complexity and stuff. But basically, the most common thing right now, because there's like some apps that like you can just download or like buy or whatever that like help the layperson do AI artwork and stuff. And it's like super easy, and you just like type words in and it generates something. But if you want to get like really nitty gritty, sort of like, painting or something, like you can buy crappy like Crayola stuff from the art store, or you can get like, if you're like really serious about it, you can get like
the premium,
super high tech tools or whatever. And in this case, like most of it works off of a couple different layers of AI. One of them is like contextual language to image processing, which is like it uses like a whole collection of images that are labeled with words. And then so you type in a prompt and it, like butthole with mint on it or something. And
don't steal my ideas.
And then it will create an image. Oh, and then you can also say like the style of whatever artist, by Picasso or with.
That would be a fun looking Picasso.
with stars floating around it. Like you can just go into like as much detail with the prompt as you want, and then it takes, what that AI knows about those words, their connections to like actual images and stuff, and creates images from that. And then you can also do like animations and stuff, which is more like the stuff that I do, to where like you can make it navigate using a bunch of crazy, sometimes pretty crazy complicated math. And the most recent one that I've been using, it's using like I can't think of the word right now, but it's basically using audio to control this thing called disco diffusion, and it pretty much works the exact same way I just described, but the mute, so you like input your images that you want it to be based on, and then music, and it takes like highs and lows from the waveform and like animates it based on the waveform. So it's like
Oh, that's cool.
generates a music video based specifically on the music.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, AI is so fascinating. You had recommended me that book. I still haven't fully finished it, but I got to the story about got the one about the deep fakes. I got the one about the twins who were separated and then had to use like the different AI companions and stuff like that. And even just the base building of AI. I find those chapters so interesting, and I like the explanations afterwards and things like that, because it makes something that's a really cool story something like, oh, this is something that will probably potentially happen or could potentially happen in the future. And I think it was interesting how the explanations afterwards kind of showed like, oh, here's the pros and cons of what this, story scenario was just given. And just all the different processes that go through into Google when you had to train it initially to find what a cat was. It's so interesting, and it comes back to that whole math is the universal language, because you're basically now with something like AI artwork using math and numbers to create something that typically, maybe I would, paint or something like that has nothing to do with math in your own brain. But then the AI computer brain is like, here's all these numbers, and now I'm going to create something that's visually impressive and just beautiful out of that, which is so cool. I just find that fascinating.
Yeah, and it can also apply to, because the music that I've been using and the one that I just mentioned, the music itself was also generated by AI, and it's based on basically the same process and stuff like that, just with audio and like waveforms and shit instead of images.
Yeah, that's super cool. I think that I'm excited to see where all this stuff goes. And then, but you also start looking at kind of like how we were talking about with all the people in the world, all the scams that exist. And then you look at things like deepfakes and you're like, ooh, that's a scary one to go down. It's like, especially when you have a situation right now with like, the world being in the state that it is, not only just the pandemic, but now there's, the war situation happening. And it's like, when you look at how fast technology progresses and how little people know about it, you can definitely see situations like that as not only a potential, but a probability in the future for, well, did this person say this or was it fake? And, how many different people and programs are processing to make sure that this is something that's legitimate. And it's a scary thing for sure. But I think that there's definitely like a lot of potential for that to be something that's helpful in the future. But man, I don't trust people. So that's kind of, I don't think the fear necessarily comes from the AI or any of that stuff itself, like the actual, product or any of that. It comes from the fear of the people using it, because at the end of the day, a computer program is just a computer program. It's the numbers. It's numbers. That's it. That doesn't take into account for all the shit that's up here in people. And God.
Yeah, I agree. Like, the tools are agnostic, and it's not like saying, oh, like a nuclear weapon's not a problem until it's in the wrong hands. That's one of those things that's made to be specifically a problem.
Yeah.
AI is
It's
just
not
a
made
thing.
to be a problem. It's that people can use it to make it a problem. And
Yeah.
that's the terrifying thing. And I think that's where a lot of people's fear comes from, even with things like cryptocurrency. Well, it's like, well, yes, this is laid out and this is this, but then you hear about people getting scammed off of it. And it's like, oh, those people exist. It's like, well, they do, but I think that kind of exists anywhere. And then it once again kind of falls back on you, the individual, to kind of assess all the different information and then make your educated, or at least somewhat educated, kind of opinion or how you feel about it based on that, which, I think it comes down to a lot of the other thing is time. Like, people don't have the time to sit down and necessarily look at everything. That's why half the time you have conversations with people and it feels like they're just ending up parroting what they hear, from the TV or, from, some one specific YouTube channel or whatever it is, because it's like, that's all they have time for. And so then you kind of end up taking what these people say at face value and you're like, this is what this is. And it's like, but it doesn't necessarily. There's all these different contrary opinions and ideas. And I don't know. I wish people had more time to really look into it. But I don't know. At the end of the day, like, I think one thing that I find interesting about crypto is it seems that a lot of the people who are in it, and I mean that as far as like, reading forums or you're watching the educational videos about it, it doesn't seem to me to be, more about just creating that upper wealth echelon for the specific people who already have that money. It's not even about capping that. It's about kind of like raising up the baseline for wealth, if that makes sense. Like it's not necessarily about putting a cap on wealth. It's about raising the bottom standard for what wealth should be. And I feel like kind of in society in a lot of ways, and maybe I'm privileged in this opinion because I'm kind of outside of the scope of working for a corporation or, working a normal job. Like, where would I work now? What's this 10-year? What's this 10-year gap in your work history? Well, I was filling my gap. Thank you. Like, it's not, you know what I mean? Like, but I feel like, you know, uh, and as someone who has worked in the corporate world and held many jobs before the one I have now, and you look at how people are raised and indoctrinated into school, and it's kind of like there's this whole process of being taught to do what you're told. There's this whole process of being taught to be a drone and being taught to take direction. And there's not as much emphasis put on basically having that free thinking aspect to kind of create something for yourself or to create something for other people or to follow something that you're passionate about. I feel like a lot of passion gets taken out of things and they're like, well, that's your hobby. That's something you have as a hobby, but you have to clock in 9 to 5. You have to have your hour to and hour from commute, and then you get to go to bed. And you got to wake up and do it all over again because that is your lot in life. And, live for the weekends because that's the only free time you have. And you're going to fuck yourself up. You're going to get fucking wasted. You're going to go back and hate yourself the whole rest of the week. Like, and I know that's not everyone. And I know that's like not every situation. But I think that just having the ability to, kind of look at the internet as a whole and you look at things like, people selling, whether it's NFTs or whether they're selling jewelry on Etsy, there are all so many different options for people to kind of create wealth or even to create passive income on the side from the jobs that they have. But I think that if we had the ability to kind of, not necessarily cap the top and just raise the bottom, then the quality of life for people in general would improve. You wouldn't have to necessarily be beholden to some company that doesn't give a fuck about you. Honestly, you wouldn't have to work for the big conglomerate of Amazon. I think that those positions will always be filled. But I think that even with something like cryptocurrency, if more people were able to get into it and kind of raise their own bottom line, then they would demand more from maybe the respective jobs that they do have because they'd have the ability to do so. I think it's easy now to kind of just let a company or corporation determine what your worth or your value is. And not enough people attribute their own value to themselves because that's not something that you're taught to do. You're taught to be like, this is your lot in life and this is what you do,
Yeah. Plus, like, raising the bottom could like potentially de-incentivize a lot of people that would like turn into scammers and stuff like that. So it's like
because if the whole bottom is raised, it's like, well, I don't have to necessarily scam this person because I have the ability to basically live. You know what I mean? And I think that's something that's interesting, especially in countries where they have had more crypto adoption because, their own fiat currency has no value essentially. Or even I've heard of people, they're sending money to people in Ukraine that is cryptocurrency because they're having all that situation there right now that I'm not even going to speak to because I'm retarded. But I think that I think that is what it boils down to most is really raising the bottom more so than capping the top, because I think that anyone should have the potential to earn as much money as they can or want to. And then at the end of the day, it is up to you what you choose to do with it. But I think that if everyone had the ability to have more of the base level is higher, then I don't think that you would necessarily even have as much hate and coveting and the greed between. I mean, that's always going to exist because that's humanity and that's how essentially we are. But I think that people, if your own quality of life is improved compared to what it was, and you see that there is the potential to continue to improve that quality of life, you don't necessarily have to, just look at someone and be like, fucking look what they have. I want that. I think the healthy level of greed is good, but that's only from a matter of like, oh, I want what they have, I'm going to try to do that because I know that there are ways that maybe I can't have all of that, but I can get to what I need to feel basically satisfied or at least like content, if
Yeah,
that
and
makes
also
sense.
not trying to take what they have. Just
Exactly.
get it yourself.
Get it yourself. Like you don't have to take what other people have. I don't know. What do you think about the scope of like how do you feel, I guess, about the whole earning money? Because I get a lot of people who say like, oh, nobody should be a billionaire, nobody should have this amount of money, or like how do you feel about that? Do you think that that's accurate, or do you kind of feel the same way as I do, that kind of like raising the bottom is more necessary than kind of capping the top, if that makes sense?
Yeah, that's I don't
That's
really know.
sticky one.
I feel like there isn't necessarily anything wrong with having $1 billion because you know
Wouldn't we all like $1
what
billion? The funny thing is when okay, so when someone says that, right? Oh, nobody should be a billionaire. And then my question to them is like, well, what if you were a billionaire? Would you feel the same way? Like if you had $1 billion, would you be like, no, I shouldn't have this. I'm just gonna throw it away like it's not, or I don't need this. And I think that for me personally, like I do decently, and I find that the more money that I do make potentially, then the more I'm also able to basically give work to people that I think need it, or I'm able to hire an editor to edit something like this that doesn't make any money, or I'm able to pay that makeup artist the better rate, or I'm able to basically you know distribute my own wealth to people who are able to utilize it and to appreciate it. Like, and I find that for me, when I'm not looking at myself in comparison to other people, like, and I could, because there are plenty of girls who are in the industry that I am. I know they make way more money than me, but I'm not like, oh, why do you make so much more? I'm like, dude, good for you. I don't put stuff in my butt. You deserve this. Like, I can't, like, and I think that that's fantastic. But when I look more as kind of like me versus me, then I don't really have that jealousy factor. I more have like an idea in my head that, I don't necessarily think that, just because I do the job that I do, that I deserve necessarily the amount of money I could make on a monthly basis. And I really don't, because I'm like, in some ways I do, because I'm like, obviously I'm selling my privacy, I'm selling, you can see all of it, you know what I mean? But it's like, when I look at it like that, and it's like, well, no, I don't necessarily deserve this, then I'm more in a position where I'm like, I want to share what I have with the people that don't have it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And for reference, I don't remember the exact numbers, but Vitalik Buterin, the guy that created Ethereum, he was given, I can't remember the amount. I swear, it's like, you can correct me in the comments if you want or something.
Comment below.
He was given a bunch of Shiba Inu, and I think maybe Dogecoin, and I don't like. That's where I'm like, hey, it was definitely Shiba, and it ended up amounting to like $7 billion, or it was more than that, and he ended up burning what was essentially $7 billion, like just completely erasing it from the blockchain. And then he donated several $1 billion to, like, it was like India's COVID fund at the time, where, because it was midway through all that stuff happening. And like, this guy just completely destroyed several billion, donated several other billion, and he still got, like, I don't know, 7 to 15 billion, or so it's like, there's no way in hell that he would ever just not have billions of dollars at that point. So, but then like, when you get to a point of like certain people, like Meta and stuff, where Mark Zuckerberg having like several hundred million or billion, or like, it's a little ridiculous at that point.
Yeah.
Because there's kids starving in the street. You can maybe write a Neil Young song about this, but like, it's just like,
Yeah.
so granted, yeah, saying people need to be protected doesn't necessarily mean that like this guy shouldn't have that, but like I don't know exactly where the line would be drawn.
Yeah,
And
that's one of the difficult things is like you can say all this stuff. It's like, but what's the solution? And it's like I think if there was a solution, it would be implemented at this point.
Steve Miller already told us the solution is to fly like an eagle. It's perfectly outlined in the song.
It's perfect. No, I agree. It's kind of like, and I think it comes back to that difference as well, which I've said that I've noticed in something like the crypto community and the people that are basically the developers for things and creating these things and creating these opportunities for people and for countries. It seems to me that that is more of their mentality is they don't really look at the top more. It seems to me that they do more look at the bottom line and see what can we do to kind of raise this for society and people and civilization as a whole, rather, and even when you're having these billions of dollars, oh, I don't need that, I'm going to burn it, I'm going to donate this for what reason? It's like, I mean, I know that there's, reasons behind everything, but it seems to me that it's a lot more, I wouldn't say that, like, I don't know if charitable is the correct word, and I'm blanking because I wanted to bring up this guy. He's a crypto guy that was on. Have you heard of Sam Harris? Are you familiar?
I am.
Yeah, he was on a podcast episode with Sam, and he was talking about how basically he's this really, really intelligent kid, and I'm blanking on the name. I'm so sorry. Maybe I'll send it to you, Dave, and you can put it there. But he was basically talking about how he wanted to do the most good in the world, right? And he went to college. He's going through all these things. He went to I think it was some animal, don't quote me on this, but I think it was like some animal charity, and he was basically like, what is more valuable to you, my time or my money? And they were like, your money. So he was like, okay, well, how can I make as much money as I can to basically support all these charities and all these things that I want to help support? Because apparently my time isn't valuable, but money is. So how can I make the most amount of money? So he started making crypto investments and doing all these things and doing the research and, creating things, and basically wants to Bill Gates it a little bit and give away all the money. Like and that is what his goal is. And it's is altruistic the correct word? Okay. Look at me, big words. But and I find that very interesting, and that seems to be, I wouldn't say the overall consensus, but the general feeling that I get from most people that I watch give information about crypto or talk on it, who have kind of any investment in it themselves, is that a lot of them are very charitable people who kind of can look at society and fiat and the way that things are run and be like, I think that there's a potential way to do this better, and that can benefit everyone and not just the super wealthy, and not even necessarily just the super poor. It's kind of like everyone as a whole should come together to try to raise everyone up, which I find really cool and inspiring. It's one of the reasons that I'm into crypto. So
yeah, and on the charitable crypto billionaire kind of thing, like,
I did not fart. I just moved. I swear to God.
Say if billionaires weren't a thing, then you wouldn't have one individual donating billions of dollars to something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like, not everybody, it's kind of a funny thing. Like, you can say all these things, but there's always going to be greedy people. There's always going to be people who want to watch the world burn. There's people who are going to want to manipulate, viruses in a way that could potentially kill the entire world. Those people exist. And it's fucked up, but you're not, the only person that you can control is yourself at the end of the day. So you can align yourself with people who maybe do have, those good ideas, but you're not gonna be able to cut out all the shitty people from the world. It's just not gonna happen. But just because someone has money or has wealth doesn't mean that they're a shitty person either. They can be wanting to do things with that wealth to benefit other people and maybe themselves too. But you still have to take care of yourself, and you can still have your own goals and dreams and still want to basically help other people with the blessings essentially that you've been given.
Speaking of, when I leave here, I'm gonna go see that new Batman movie.
Oh,
so maybe, I don't know if he's doing good things with his billions of dollars yet, or if he's just beating the shit out of street criminals. But
yeah, you'll have to let me know, because man, Robert Pattinson, as Batman. Let's see how that goes. Like, I don't know. I can't see it. Okay, because so first I saw Robert Pattinson as fucking Cedric, and he died. And it was very tragic, and I cried. And then he was a vampire, and I was like, this is fucking weird. And now he's Batman. He's just doing it all.
Yep.
That'll be interesting to see.
I saw this weird David Cronenberg movie with him in it called Cosmopolis. And he plays like a billionaire that just lives in his car, like just constantly driving around. There's like protests going on everywhere. So he's like living in this fucking limo and regularly gets like prostate exams in his car. And then that's basically all I remember about the movie. I was like, what the hell am I watching? Like David Cronenberg.
I'm writing this down. Cosmopolis.
David Cronenberg is a great filmmaker. That he's the dude that did like The Thing and or no, that's John Carpenter. He did The Fly and like some other Naked Lunch and stuff like that.
Okay.
But this one was like
I'm in a limo.
weird.
I'm a billionaire getting prostate exams. I need to see what this is about. I'm gonna smoke a fat J. Just sit down and be like, what the fuck am I watching?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So that was, me seeing, I saw him start out as a vampire. That happened, and now I'm going to see him
As Batman.
I
don't know. Who do you think the best Batman has been in your opinion? And please don't say George Clooney, or I don't know if we can be friends anymore with bat nipples. I just can't. Nipples.
I like those movies the best.
I like the movies. They're so campy and fun, but like
ultra ridiculous.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yep. Chill.
So dumb. I love it.
Let me
Speaking
think.
of though, we need a new Poison Ivy because it's always Catwoman.
Tall redhead woman
Who can't act. Actually, Poison Ivy is one of the fan favorite cosplays, let me tell you. But I'm sorry, back to your favorite Batman, the best in your opinion.
Adam West is funny just because it's just absurd Batman. But I don't know. I'd probably say Michael Keaton just because maybe it's just nostalgic reasons or something. But
Michael Keaton. Oh, is it Michelle Pfeiffer?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. She's so hot. She's still so hot.
I know.
It makes no sense. I'm like
wait,
age already. God damn it.
You were hot back then. Somehow it's been 30-something years.
I don't know. I think it's all those like baby blood facials that they're doing up there with those little trillies. I don't know, something crazy. All right. Well, you want to tell people where they can find you? I think we've been going like.
Shit. I don't know. What's the best place? Just Instagram.com/Daniel J. Trujillo, and same with Twitter @Daniel J. Trujillo. Mm-hmm. And I'll find me on this podcast. And
stay tuned because we're going to have some minty fresh buttholes coming to you guys for some NFTs. So, non-fungible titties. You have any words to leave with anyone as far as anything we've discussed? Anything you want to let them chew on?
No, I guess I didn't think about that. If you become a billionaire, maybe try helping poor people instead of just beating the shit out of them like Batman does. I said that as a huge Batman fan.
As a huge fan. Yes, just don't beat the shit out of people just because you have money. All right. Well, thank you for listening. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Share with a friend. If you guys have any comments on this episode or any others, you can email twndpodcast@gmail.com or leave me a voicemail at anchor.fm/twnd. And we will see you next week.
Goodbye.